Now? Yeah. I'm gonna talk about development and publishing. I'm gonna mention publishing, but my focus is gonna be about VR and stuff. So, and the secondary title here would be how we got to successful VR titles and publishing. So I only have 20 minutes, so I have to be fast. So let's put it this way. If you have questions, please do reach out to me. After that, we can chit-chat and everything else. So who is this guy? So my name is Dirts Tiesteris. So the main core thing here is that I have a lot of things that I have done. So I'm a lecturer of Vidzeme University of Applied Sciences, where I teach game development, aka Unity and stuff. I used to be the member of the board for Game Dev Latvia, aka Latvian Game Developers Association. Currently, I'm just a member. Well, you have to choose your battles, right? So I used to have like an indie company called that had several terrible, so bad it's good games. And while I was doing that whole thing with Nyarg, I was AR, VR developer. So I started doing AR and VR around 2016, 17. And what I'm going to speak about is not any of that stuff I mentioned. I'm going to talk about HyperVR games, where I'm the co-founder and CTO. And HyperVR games was founded a little bit after Quest 2 launch, and I had some titles, VR titles that I was doing, but I ended up focusing on that, so I'm a CTO and co-founder behind HyperVR games, which is a VR game dev and publishing company. So we started publishing end of the last year, and that's one of the things. However, we have separate publishing and development branch. So we are based in Latvia, south of here, and however, we have like in development section we have 8 people now. And we have, and in publishing more, we have people in Latvia and some people around Europe. We are trying to keep in, European time zones so we can communicate. So we're not just I'm waking up and somebody is like already sleeping. So situation. So we are focusing on casual VR games. And I'm going to follow on that later on. Why casual? And we have developed 3 titles and published 1 title. And I'm going to mention our developed titles. We published a title called Titans Clinic. Maybe some of you might be aware of that. However, that won't be part of the slides, so I have to conserve time somewhere, right? So yeah, and we were founded early 2021 in height of COVID. So we are a remote, I would call more like hybrid mode company, but mostly remote. And it was founded by two Latvian game dev mobile companies called Hypercell and Estity. And I was asked, hey, you're the VR guy in Latvia, right? Yeah, want to start a company? I was like, sure. And that's how Hyper Reality became a thing, which was renamed to Hyper VR games, so it's more understandable what the fuzz is about, that it's both games and Hyper and VR. You can see where the Hyper came from, right? The Hypercell, right? So, and I'm, again, talking about VR and stuff. So, yeah. I'm going to mention a title that we are most famous for, that usually I'm going to conferences, I don't have to explain what that is, if it's gaming focused. And it's called Shaven Stuff. It's a casual barbershop simulator. And so I'm bad at barbershop stuff. And I mean, it's a fun game. And when we released it in early access at 2022. The production time was not even 3 months until we reached out in early access, and it spread like wildfire. We were suddenly like big from. It was our second game. I'm going to mention my first one a little bit later on. And if you want to check out what that is, there's a QR code. I have a lot of QR codes because they're cool, or not. And it spread like wildfire, and I was surprised. We had a big problem, and a good problem to have. We have to keep suddenly up with the content. And our title was not even 3 months from the very prototype. And so we had to grow fast, expand fast. And the good thing that I knew how to handle that, and sometimes it involved crunching for me, sadly. And I'm going to break a pattern here. I'm not from the film background. Sorry. I'm from development background, so however, I love game design. And so, I mean, this game had like Latvian Console of the Year Game Award from Latvia in 2022. I mean, that was, yay, nice. We also got a GDC Best in Play winners. We had like, you know, we got some prizes. I was like, we won something, great. So that was the early access version here with our first woman character. And yeah, we have this here at the GDC booth that we had. So this is an older slide. That sucks, but I'm going to mention something to explain how big Shaven Stuff is. So this year, we were top 2 selling game in VR for a moment. We're among top 15 selling games in VR market, so Shaven Stuff is big. We beat the Beat Saber for a moment, so. I'm going to mention a few things that we do, but not maybe so much in detail, but otherwise so you can see how things are made. And there's a reason why that, how they are made. How many of you are in VR? Maybe a quick question. How many of you are doing VR titles? Like VR things, anything? Okay, how many of you are motion sick? I'm super motion sick. I'm getting motion sick in driving in a car sometimes, but if I'm not driving. So I mean that comes into game design. So we released our previous our next title. Well, Shaven Stuff was released in 2022 in early access, and then it was released fully on 2023 in April. In MetaStore, and we got there. It wasn't even 6 months. It was a huge thing to get to the MetaQuest store because it's heavily curated. So back into the pets and stuff, and we launched a pets and stuff this autumn fully in August. So Shaven Stuff was easier to make and easier to build the game design around, since it was all about shaving, tattooing, and a bunch of other things. And stuff. Pets and Stuff was something else. It has lots of features, and our core thing here is the cuteness. And one of the game design things that I was a bit afraid of, how to make animals feel fun. And they ended up being small balls, let's put it this way, and any animal can be turned into this small little ball that was made for a reason. We had a horse in shave and stuff level, and imagine you had to take all the shaver around and color it and make a horse into a zebra. Imagine the pain you have to go through. That it doesn't feel good. So therefore, we scaled it down to small balls of cuteness. So Pets and Stuff is all about cuteness. So, and predictably, we won Latvian Console Game of the Year award again in 2023 when this little cute game was released in early access. I have to drop this, yeah, because one of the rare pictures where I look decent. So this is me and Ivars, our second guy, our artist and our visual guru. So, yeah. And while I have been talking about, Pets and Stuff and Shave and Stuff, the point of this presentation, how we got there, and there was a lot of things. We were there in the right moment and in a niche market that was not filled. So one of the most important things that you need is a good team and process. You can have like the best guys around, but you still need to have something very important. And in VR, I was very, 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 very focused on gameplay and UX. Therefore, it comes first. So maybe some of you have heard of KISS principle. Keep it simple, stupid. So when I was designing Shave and Stuff, I wasn't the only guy who was doing that. We had a team doing that. I dumbed it down to the bare bones, and I said no to locomotion. Locomotion is going to be secondary. So I built it a way so everything is easily accessible, and so I wouldn't vomit while developing it. And I know that some percentage of people would have the same problem. And we stripped it down to the bare minimum of things and then incremented on top of that, so we know that things that are there are actually used by users, and we tested a lot. So what we also had to do is that the flow is smooth. At the same time, I didn't want to create like a story-driven game for a reason. So since Shave and Stuff is a very creative game, people want to do creative stuff. Most of the time, people don't really follow the story or whatever, the scenarios that are. They just create the hell they want. And that's how the game design was built. So you kind of can follow the scenarios that you have to match in your game, but players can just ignore that and do their colorful things. And we ended up seeing that we had like people standing in lines to try out our games just for 5 minutes, like 2-hour line to just try out. And when I first time saw Shave and Stuff prototype, when I tried it, it was like 2-day prototype. I was like, okay, I can sell this under 3 minutes. Sorry, under 3 seconds. And it's like, okay, we're gonna go with this game. And one more thing that I'm very often seeing in games, I'm gonna use this term, flat screen game, not a VR game, or pancake games, or whatever terms are there. Typical game that is on a screen, and how it is, some people do that, you create a game like that and add VR on top. I didn't want to do that. Our games are VR first. VR is the first class citizen. Everything that's around the environment, that if it looks like it's grabbable, interactable, it has to be like that. Otherwise, it breaks immersion, and you start getting comments more often. Your game bad. I mean, if something like there's a bottle here, oh yeah, in real life it looks like I could grab it, and you can't do it. It's like bad UX. And while on top of it, there's a lot of things like seemingly little things matter actually, and because if you have like bad little things, they accumulate, and basically destroy your feeling of the game. That's why we dumped it down and built it up slowly by iteration. Also, we ensured that the team is flexible to react to users' feedback, to majority of it, because some people don't really know what they want. That's understandable. So we were testing that things and just checking, and we had to be flexible to change the game in the way at any moment. And last, and one of the most important things is marketing, which we as a publisher do. So this is where we shine. And in the next part, I'm going to mention a few things about that. Kill your children early. So the thing about Chevin stuff, we were trying to do, if we're going to fail fast. That's why not even 3 months when we released. We were already had the play-tested game. So if it's going to die, we wouldn't invest a lot of time in that title, therefore a lot of money, and we can create a new one, right? And some people say, oh, this is like purely out of Silicon Valley books and talks and everything. I mean, it is like that. So that's what we did with Chevin stuff. And factors here are what we are evaluating very often is like potential fun factor. Potential virality, look at this video. I mean, it's an old video that we had, but this is something that we shared on TikTok. So, I mean, well, if the game is fun, but you can't create viral content for content creators, it's possible that it's very possible that it might not perform. And the last very important thing is it has to be also, you'll need some replayability in your games. And with some titles, it is easier, for some titles harder. With Chevin stuff, it was kind of easy to build it around, but you still had to be clever about it. For example, remember when I was trying Bootstrap Island for the very first time, I didn't follow the rules. I was like, oh, there's crabs. Oh, cute, 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 cute. And this is what content creators will do. They will look at these crabs. It's like, oh, yeah, I can create some low content for my audience. You need that for your titles. I mean, if you're building games. So, I mentioned 2 games, right? Chevin stuff and Pets and stuff, right? Both casual games. And why casual games? Maybe before that next slide. Why casual games? Because back then, when we started, the market didn't, the MetaQuest store, Meta Horizon nowadays, didn't have casual games, really. We had Superhot, we had Job Simulator, but if I wanted to show something to my friends trying VR for the very first time, it was pretty much that or some other titles. I was like, maybe we should do something about it and something casual. And we did. And Chevin stuff is among one of those things that I could happily give to somebody while trying it for the very first time, because you can understand that like in half a minute how everything works. So that's why Chevin stuff was successful. A lot of things, combination of that. And we had the first title that was collecting dust for a moment. It was called Zombie Cleanup Service. I was the developer behind Chevin stuff, and also this game. I was the lead developer as well. And this involved a lot of cartoony violence, which is something that who might know me before Hyper VR games was. This is me, total me, like cartoony violence. So you have like a zombie hit with hood of the car, and well, you take a keyboard and the typical office frustration things on zombies in the office environment. And we released this game as well, but for free, because I mean, either we set it there to collect dust, because Chevin stuff basically spread like wildfire, and we decided to shelve this, or we just can release it, so it's there out in the wild, so people can enjoy it. What will happen if it will spread like wildfire? At least we'll have another problem good problem to deal with. But last but not least, so we have a lot of things to do, and we are hiring. If you are interested in VR games, in art and coding or whatever, you can become like this guy cool and join us. So here's a QR code that leads to, yeah, you can email us pretty much. So, and you can also just catch me somewhere here, and I am out of time. Thank you.